What's up, Atlanta?
You like doing that way too much.
Chicago was louder. Let's do it one more time. What's up, Atlanta?
Although you're going to go with those tricks like, oh, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
All right, so we're in Atlanta. So are we going to carry on with tradition? Are we talking about something like weird and wonderful, some creepy mystery that's happened in Atlanta? Or maybe talking about the weirdest and most wonderful and maybe ridiculous airport ever built?
Who's pandering now? So I thought about it, but I really wanted to get into something that affects every single person in this room, every household across countless nations.
That's a big claim.
Today, Mike, we're going to talk about toilet paper orientation.
Okay.
This is a conversation that can rip families apart ply by ply.
So before we go any further, like, how many more of these do you have?
I do feel like I'm really getting on a roll.
Stop it. Please stop it.
Okay, I'll wipe the rest from the script.
All right. Okay. I'm putting my foot down now.
All right, let's get into this.
So let's set the scene a little. What we're talking about here is how you orient a roll of toilet paper on its holder. If we refer to over, this means that the tissue that you pull is over the top and front of the roll, while under means that it is behind and under the roll.
That makes sense. But Mike, why in the world is there a very full Wikipedia article about this?
Well, it turns out that this is an extremely controversial subject. Advice columnist Ann Landers said in 1986 that the subject was the most responded to and controversial issue in her column's history, garnering some 15,000 letters from readers.
If you want to get in touch with us after this, you can find Mike on Twitter at IMYKE.
Why are you being this way to me? I don't understand. This isn't fair.
So like most disagreements in life, both sides actually have a lot in common. If they just paused for a second, they would see that. Defenders of both positions cite advantages, including aesthetics, hospitality, cleanliness factor, paper conservation, and ease of use.
Of course, not all rifts can be easily mended. Solutions range from compromise to using separate dispensers or separate bathrooms entirely, or maybe some people just completely ignore the issue.
Some of those seem really extreme.
Well, I don't know.
Okay, so we have to talk about Edgar Allan Burns. He's a sociology professor at the Eastern Institute of Technology in New Zealand. In an article named Bathroom Politics, Introducing Students to Sociological Thinking from the Bottom Up, he describes some reasons toilet paper politics is worth examination.
On the first day of Burns' introductory course in sociology, he asks his students, which way do you think a roll of toilet paper should hang? In the following 50 minutes, the students will examine why they picked their answers, exploring the social construction of rules and practices which they have never consciously thought about before.
I do want to point out, we just basically glossed over the title of that paper. It's very good.
It's very good. Burns did something right, as his material has been adopted by a social psychology course at the University of Notre Dame.
Now, it's easy to point to academia and say, you guys have just cranked this to 11. It's really not that bad. Let's look at some examples. Christopher Peterson, a professor of psychology at the University of Michigan, classifies the choice of toilet paper orientation under, quote, taste, preferences, and interests, as opposed to values, attitudes, traits, norms, or needs. Other personal interests, for example, may include one's favorite cola or baseball team.
So it's nothing to wage war over. Morton and Gernsbacher, a professor of psychology at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, compares the orientation of toilet paper to things like how you put cutlery in a dishwasher, or the choice of which drawer in a chest of drawers to place one's socks, or the order of shampooing one's hair and lathering one's body in the shower. We all have a preference for this, but we don't necessarily all know it until we think about it.
So we can't avoid this anymore. Let's talk about the pros and cons of each way. Let's start with over.
So over fans say that this reduces the risk of accidentally brushing the wall or cabinet with one's knuckles, potentially transferring grime and germs. I don't know how much. But anyway, they also claim that the over method makes it easier to visually locate and to grasp a loose end.
Over gives hotels, cruise ships, office buildings, public places, and even homeowners with guest bathrooms the option to fold over the last sheet to show that the room has been cleaned.
I think that no one should ever do this. I hate that, but nevertheless. Lastly, over is generally the intended direction of viewing for the manufacturer's branding as well, so patent toilet paper will look better this way.
That all seems reasonable to me. What's the case for under?
Under is said to provide a tidier appearance in that the loose end can be hidden from view.
Under reduces the risk of a toddler or a pet completely unrolling the toilet paper. I have a toddler, I can account for this. As the loose end isn't just flapping in the breeze as temptation.
In a related note, under in a recreational vehicle or RV, it took me a while. Like, RVs are not so big. I was like, recreational vehicle? Like, aren't all vehicles? Anyway, it may reduce unrolling during driving and taking sharp turns, I guess.
Okay, these are good points. I think you and I need to understand where we stand to see if we can continue to be in business together. Yep. I'm an overman. What about you?
I'm not an animal, so obviously I'm a member of the Church of Over.
Okay. We're going to see what the audience thinks here. I'm going to name a style, and then you cheer and clap for the style you believe in.
This is a very scientific...
Yeah.
We have adjudicators.
All right. So, over.
This is if there's like one person, please, just like one.
And under. Wow. That's way more one-sided than all my jokes were prepared for.
Yeah. No. Well, we got to throw it all out. So let's talk about some polling data, shall we?
Okay. The question, do you prefer that your toilet paper unwind over or under the spool, was featured on the cover of a 1989 book titled The First Really Important Survey of American Habits. The overall result was way more divided in this room, with 68% choosing over.
Sitting Pretty, The History of the Toilet, a traveling exhibition that tours only Canadian museums, which I think is very specific, asks visitors to register their preferred roll decision. When the exhibition reached Huntsville, Ontario in June 2001, 13,000 visitors had taken the survey with a similarly similar percentage of 68% choosing over.
There have been many studies and surveys put out by big companies that own toilet paper brands. Here are some of the results. In 1993, 73% questioned over 1,200 respondents, so a little bit bigger than this room. 73% voted over.
And another 1,000 respondents selected over in a year later in 1994 at 59%. In 2001 and 2004, 63 and 72% of respondents chose over in surveys held as well. Go on. Sorry.
Hi.
After you. How do?
I'm next in the document. Okay. S is for Stephen. On January 27th, 2010, which I'm sure all came to mind immediately, that's the 100th anniversary of the death of Thomas Crapper, the infamous plumber. Do you celebrate that in your house?
Yep. Crap-a-day.
Cottonelle launched a great debate advertising campaign, inviting American consumers to vote on their preference at a Kimberly-Clark website. The result was announced during the 82nd Academy Awards.
How? How did they get that? That is like prime real estate. How did they get the time?
72% voted over.
Actually, it's probably an ad, right? Like, I can't imagine they had, like, George Clooney come up on stage.
It's like they open the envelope, and over wins!
Oh, no. If you're unlucky enough to live in a divided household, you do have some solutions. The Tilt-A-Roll is a swiveling toilet paper dispenser invented by Curtis Batts in 1996, which, as you can imagine, allows a roll of toilet paper's orientation to be changed at will.
Another solution is just to install 2 toilet paper dispensers.
One on each wall.
Yeah. This is more common in like public restrooms or hotels. If you run a building with public bathrooms, this may keep people calm and keep riots at bay.
It's very important in a public bathroom.
You don't want riots in there.
Keep people calm. Just keep people calm.
This feels pretty conclusive. Clearly over is the correct way to orient a roll of toilet paper.
You say that, but you remember we talked about Ann Landers at the beginning of the show? Well, she answered under, prompting thousands of letters in protest. She then was a bit of a wimp and recommended over instead, prompting thousands more responses.
Flip-flopper.
Over under.
Pick a stance, Anne. Please don't email us what you think about this. Just don't do
wanna
it.
Know. I think, we took that poll. I bet that there are more under people in this room, but they got scared.
They felt shamed.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to read more about this, and I'm sure you do, check out the link at relay.fm/ungeniused/51. While you're on that beautiful website, you can do a couple things. You can get in touch with us via email. 100% of the topics on the show are sent in by listeners. So send us your favorite weird Wikipedia articles, or you can do it on Twitter if you're a youth. You can find the show at Ungeniused. You can find Myke there at IMYKE, and you can follow me on Twitter at ISMH. Until the next time our knuckles touch the cabinet, Myke, say goodbye.
Thank you, Stephen.
Adios.